Picture a Wall Street titan, his name a golden whisper in every boardroom. Bernard Madoff, the man who turned ambition into billions, a living legend of the American dream. But beneath the polished smile, a chilling betrayal erupted, a $65 billion Ponzi scheme that left a retired teacher clutching her last savings statement, sobbing in her empty kitchen as the bank foreclosed her home. In the 1990s, Madoff was a financial god. As chairman of NASDAQ, he'd earned the trust of the elite. Hollywood stars, major charities, entire pension funds handed over their fortunes, believing in his promise of unshakable returns. He delivered year after year, even when markets crashed, building an empire that seemed invincible. But in 2008, the mask fell. For over 2 decades, Madoff had been running one of the largest Ponzi schemes in history. $65 billion in lies paying old investors with new money, a tragic house of cards that fell in the financial crisis. He confessed to his sons, who turned him in, and the fallout was devastating. Thousands lost everything, and Madoff was sentenced to 150 years in prison. How could a man so revered harbor such a devastating secret? I've carried that weight myself, the kind that forces you to bury the truth. A few years back, I was grinding for a promotion, working late nights while drowning in debt. Too ashamed to tell anyone, I'd plaster on a smile, not at every demand, pretending I had it all together, while inside, I was a mess, terrified someone would see through the cracks. Have you ever felt that pressure? That desperate need to hide a part of yourself to look strong, maybe lying to impress a boss, or burying a fear of failure to seem invincible. We all have shadows, pieces of ourselves we don't want to face. For Madoff, his shadow was a chasm of greed and deceit. It grew with every lie until it consumed him. That's where Carl Jung steps into the frame. Jung, a pioneer of psychology, called this hidden part of us the shadow, a locked chest in your mind, growing stronger in the dark until it seizes control. For Madoff, his shadow was a roaring beast. His greed and deceit didn't just fuel his Ponzi scheme, they defined him, turning his empire into a ticking time bomb. Jung warned that if we don't face our shadow, if we don't drag it into the light, it will sabotage us, just as it did Madoff, reducing his legacy to ashes. But Madoff's story isn't just a tale of a fallen king, it's a mirror for your own shadows. What are you hiding? What truths are you afraid to face on PsyUnbound? We don't just expose darkness, we transform it. Today, we'll dive deep into Madoff's shadow, using Jung's wisdom to uncover why he fell, and the one decision he made that sealed his fate, and more importantly, how you can rise. We'll explore how to confront your own darkness, how to keep it from controlling you, and how to turn it into a source of strength. Because if a man like Madoff could lose everything by ignoring his shadow, imagine what you could gain by mastering yours. Join me on this journey as we shatter the illusions of success and forge a path to a life unbound by fear. Let's step into the electrifying world of Bernard Madoff, a man whose name once reverberated through the canyons of Wall Street like a thunderclap of triumph, a sound that promised wealth and power. In 1960, a young Madoff, driven by a relentless dream, launched his modest firm with just $5,000 borrowed from his father-in-law. Hunched over a cluttered desk in a cramped Queens apartment, imagine a faint shadow creeping across his desk. As ambition took hold, that spark ignited a wildfire within him. By the 1990s, he'd ascended to the exalted role of chairman of NASDAQ, a kingmaker wielding influence over the financial markets with a steady, commanding hand. Elite clients, Hollywood stars dazzling on red carpets, billion-dollar charities, funding global causes, pension funds safeguarding the futures of teachers and firefighters, flocked to him, drawn by his unshakable promise of consistent returns. He delivered, year after year, even defying the chaos of market crashes, transforming Bernard L. Madoff investment securities into an impregnable fortress of wealth. Picture this: opulent penthouses with panoramic views of Manhattan's skyline, yachts sailing under a golden sun, a private jet poised on the tarmac ready for takeoff. His life was a gilded cage, a dazzling spectacle that captivated the world. Yet, even amid that brilliance, a shadow of greed flickered, a buried impulse stirring as he chased an image of unblemished perfection. That shadow took root in 1992, a turning point shrouded in quiet desperation. Facing a staggering $10 million loss that threatened to unravel his flawless reputation, Madoff falsified returns to conceal the truth, dipping into new investors, money to pay the old, a sleight of hand that birthed one of the largest Ponzi schemes in history. For over 2 decades, he spun this $65 billion web, each lie a delicate thread, each not a deeper, heavy denial that weighed on him. In 2000, he fabricated a $50 million profit for a charity, fully aware their funds had already vanished into the abyss, all to sustain the illusion that had become his lifeline. That shadow stretched like a lengthening storm cloud over his empire, darkening with every fabricated success, every forced smile. The tension built like a storm gathering on the horizon, an ominous pressure that pulsed through his every decision. By 2008, the financial crisis struck with merciless force, and investors, sensing the end, demanded their withdrawals. The house of cards teetered, then collapsed in a thunderous crash of red and black, a visual symphony of ruin. On December 10, Madoff confessed to his sons, his voice a hollow echo of the man he once was, and they, torn by duty, turned him in. Arrested, dragged through a grueling trial, and sentenced to 150 years in a bleak prison cell. His empire crumbled into dust, leaving thousands in financial ruin. The once mighty king shackled in a courtroom, a truly haunting spectacle that lingered in the public's memory. I've felt that suffocating pressure, the kind that whispers, "You can't fail, not now." A few years ago, I was grinding for a promotion, working late nights in a dimly lit office while drowning in a sea of debt. So ashamed to let anyone glimpse my struggle, I'd plaster on a fragile smile, nod at every demand, feigned confidence, pretending I had it all together while my world teetered on the edge. One stormy night, exhaustion overwhelmed me. I broke down and told a friend, tears streaming down my face, my voice barely a whisper as I confessed my burden. Her warm embrace steadied my shaking hands. She didn't judge, she listened. And for the first time in months, I felt a weight lift from my chest, a faint light piercing the gloom. That confession didn't fix everything, but it taught me the raw power of facing my flaws, a lesson Madoff never embraced. Have you ever felt that? That desperate, clawing need to hide a flaw, perhaps lying to impress a demanding boss, or burying a gnawing fear to appear invincible. Madoff's story strikes me like a mirror held to my soul. That 1990 to lie wasn't merely a choice. It was the shadow's birth, a greed he couldn't confront, a deceit that swelled into a silent predator stalking his every step. Jung would argue it began as a buried impulse, a flicker he ignored until it consumed him entirely. This is the intense thrill of a life unraveling at the seams, the emotional echo of our own hidden struggles reverberating within, and a philosophical clue to the darkness that dwells within us all. Next, we'll witness how that shadow unleashed its full, devastating power, and what it means for our own journeys. We left Bernard Madoff teetering on the brink, his $65 billion Ponzi scheme swaying like a house of cards caught in a relentless storm. That storm cloud of greed casting a dark shadow over his once glorious empire. That flicker of shadow we traced back to 1992, when he falsified returns to conceal a $10 million loss, had morphed into a roaring beast by 2008. This is the moment the real drama explodes, the instant his buried darkness broke free, unleashing a chaos no charm, no fabricated profit, no polished facade could hold back. Welcome back, where we strip away the masks to confront the truths that shape our lives. Let's step into Carl Jung's realm. Jung described the shadow as the hidden corner of our psyche, a locked chest where we lock away our darkest impulses, greed, deceit, the terror of failure. He cautioned that ignoring it doesn't erase it. Instead, it festers, rattling louder with each denial until the lid bursts open in a wave of destruction. For Madoff, that chest had been swelling for decades. His greed, an insatiable hunger to be seen as flawless, paired with a deceit that, masked every lie behind a very charming smile, stoked its growth. By 2000, he fabricated a $50 million profit for a charity, knowing their funds had long vanished, using his charm as a shield to hide the gnawing guilt that fed the shadow. Then, in 2005, auditors probed his returns, a golden opportunity to confess. But his hands trembled, sweat beaded on his brow, and he doubled down, proving Jung's insight that denial only amplifies the shadow's power. That lengthening storm cloud loomed ever darker over his fragile empire. The unleashing erupted in 2008, when the financial crisis transformed that storm into a tempest of ruin. Investors, panicked by the market's chaos, demanded $7 billion in withdrawals, cash that simply didn't exist. Imagine that locked chest, bursting with dark tendrils, its contents spilling forth as the Ponzi scheme unraveled. Red and black financial charts spiraling downward like a spiral of despair. Phones shrilling incessantly, Madoff pacing his opulent office as the walls seemed to close in. Hear the deafening silence after the phones stopped ringing, a chilling aftermath. On December 10th, he confessed to his sons, his voice cracking like the brittle facade of the empire he'd built. That confession wasn't a release, it was the shadow's victory. A beast he'd nurtured for years now turning to devour him whole. Arrested, hauled into court, and sentenced to 150 years in a grim prison cell. He sat as a hollow shell, the titan reduced to a cautionary tale. His darkness laid bare for the world to see. Madoff's story ended tragically. He died in April 2021. At 82, in a prison medical center, his body ravaged by chronic kidney disease, a stark reminder of the shadow's toll. That scene strikes me to the core. I've known the panic of hiding a mistake, the dread when the truth teeters on the edge of exposure. After admitting my crushing debt to a friend, I faced that dread head-on by owning my mistake. Imagine a weight lifting off my shoulders, a faint light breaking through the gloom, and it freed me from its suffocating grip. His isolation echoes that universal fear we all harbor, the terror of being stripped bare. Jung would argue his downfall stemmed not from the scheme itself, but from his refusal to confront that shadow. He let it fester, feeding it with denial and delusion, until it consumed his life and legacy. The dramatic thrill of that collapse, the charts plunging, the courtroom shackles clanking, merges with an emotional pang I recognize deep within. It's the price of turning away from what lurks in our shadows. This is the essence of truth. Madoff's shadow didn't just shatter him, it unveils a universal truth. When we fail to integrate our shadow, it seizes control, erupting in ways we can't predict, much like the resentment I hid from a coworker, nearly costing our trust. That's the lesson brewing here, a stark warning that our own darkness, if left unchecked, can unleash havoc on our lives. In the next part, we'll transform that warning into a beacon of power, guiding you to master your shadow and rise above it. Stay with me as we delve deeper into Madoff's descent and uncover the light within our own shadowed souls. We've journeyed with Bernard Madoff from his dazzling rise to the shattering collapse of his $65 billion Ponzi scheme, watching that storm cloud of greed unleash a shadow that devoured his empire. That same shadow, born in 1992, fed by denial, and bursting forth in 2008, holds a mirror to our own lives, a warning etched in his ruin. But here, we don't just uncover darkness, we transform it. This is where we take control, turning Madoff's fall into a roadmap for mastering our own shadows, guided by Carl Jung's wisdom. Let's step into the light together. Jung believed the shadow isn't our enemy, it's a part of us, a locked chest of buried traits like greed or fear, waiting to be understood. The key? Recognizing it first. Start by looking within. Grab a journal and ask yourself, what do I hide? Maybe it's a greed for approval, like Madoff's hunger for perfection, or a fear of failure I buried deep. I've faced this myself. After confessing my debt, I realized my shame stemmed from wanting to seem invincible, a shadow I'd ignored. Writing it down, I saw it clearly, a first step Madoff never took. This isn't just reflection, it's a very dramatic confrontation. a thrilling battle with the self that sets the stage for change. Next, learn to control that shadow before it controls you. Jung warned that unacknowledged impulses erupt like Madoff's deceit did in 2005. When he trembled but doubled down, pause before acting. When that greed or fear nudges you, take a breath, question it. I practiced this after my confession. One day, tempted to lie about missing a deadline for a major project, I stopped, breathed, and admitted it instead. The relief was instant, a weight lifting like it did with my friend's embrace. This discipline turns the shadow's power against itself, an uplifting victory that truly calms you. Madoff's refusal to pause let his shadow grow. Don't let yours. Finally, transform your shadow into strength. Jung saw it as raw material. Greed can fuel ambition. Fear can sharpen focus if you integrate it. After facing my shame, I channeled it into a goal, paying off debt ethically, turning a flaw into a drive. For Madoff, greed could have built a legitimate empire if he'd faced it, but he let it fester. Try this. Pick one shadow trait, like envy, and redirect it. Use it to motivate bettering yourself rather than tearing others down. I challenge you to a 7-day journey. Each day, reflect on your shadow, pause before reacting, and redirect it once. On day 7, I turned envy of a friend's success into a fitness goal. Running my first 5K, crossing the finish line, I felt a rush of pride. By day 7, you'll feel a cracked shell glowing with a warm, golden light as you take charge. This isn't easy. It's a thrilling struggle, a battle against the darkness within. But the reward is uplifting freedom. Ignore your shadow, and you risk a life spiraling into a void of broken trust. A void I nearly fell into when my debt threatened my friendships, just as Madoff's did. His story is a stark reminder of the cost, a life in ruins, shackled by a shadow he never mastered. Yet his fall lights our path. Jung's philosophy promises that facing our shadows doesn't just prevent collapse, it unlocks potential. I've lived it. My confession, my pauses, my redirection have reshaped me. You can do this too. The tension of Madoff's unraveling echoes our own risks. The emotional ache of hiding fuels our resolve, and the philosophical depth of Jung guides us to rise. This is your moment to shatter the illusions Madoff clung to and forge a life unbound by fear. Stay with me as we wrap this journey, reflecting on Madoff's legacy and your own transformation. In the conclusion, we'll seal these lessons with a call to action, ensuring you leave empowered. Let's conquer that shadow together. We've walked a very powerful path together through the rise and fall of Bernard Madoff, a man whose $65 billion Ponzi scheme crumbled like a house of cards under a storm cloud of greed. From that flicker of shadow in 1992 to its devastating unleashing in 2008, we've seen how his refusal to face it led to a life in ruins, shackled in a prison cell, a hollow echo of the titan he once was. That same shadow lurks within us all. It's a locked chest of buried impulses, as Carl Jung revealed. But here, we don't just uncover darkness, we transform it together. This isn't just my journey, or Madoff's, it's ours, a truly shared odyssey of growth and triumph. Let's seal this transformation with a call to action that binds us as a community, forging a legacy so unmarred by the darkness Madoff couldn't conquer. Madoff's story is a dramatic spectacle of unraveling, a life spiraling into a void of broken trust, a warning carved in the red and black wreckage of his empire. Yet, it's also a mirror, reflecting our own struggles. I felt that mirror when my debt threatened my friendships, a weight I nearly really let crush me until I confessed, paused, and redirected my shame into strength. You've seen the steps we've taken together. Recognize your shadow with a journal, control it with a breath, transform it with a goal like my 5K run, where crossing the finish line brought a rush of pride. Remember our CT. Recognize your shadow, control it with a pause, transform it with a goal. These aren't just lessons. They're a battle plan we've crafted as a team, a tough battle with yourself. The stakes are high. Ignore your shadow, and it could erupt, like Madoff's did, shattering relationships or dreams. But face it with us, and you unlock an uplifting freedom, a very warm, golden light breaking through a cracked shell of fear, illuminating our shared path. This is the heart of deep insight. Jung's wisdom teaches that the shadow isn't a curse. It's a gift when we integrate it together. Madoff's greed, unchecked, destroyed him. But redirected, it could have built a legacy of innovation. My shame became my drive to pay off debt ethically, a transformation we've explored side by side. Think of your own shadow, envy, anger, insecurity, and imagine harnessing it with this community. Maybe your envy fuels a new skill, your anger sparks a cause, your insecurity pushes you to prove yourself. The 7-day challenge we embarked on, reflecting daily, pausing, redirecting, is our collective starting line. Day 1, write your shadow. Days 2 to 6, pause and reflect. Day 7, redirect and celebrate, like I did with my run, feeling that pride surge. Picture a ladder of light. Each rung is a step from recognition to transformation. Let's make it real. Now, let's deepen our bond. Pause this video. I'm pausing with you. Grab a notebook, just as I am, and write one shadow you hide. Be honest, we're in this together. No judgment here. Then, commit to our 7-day challenge as a team. Each day, share your progress in the comments below. I'll be there, reading every story, cheering you on, just as my friend steadied me with her very warm embrace. Let's create a space where we lift each other up. Reply to someone else's comment with encouragement. Share how their journey inspires you. Imagine the end, a week from now. We've turned our flaws into strengths together, our legacies glowing, brighter as a community. This is our dramatic victory over the darkness, our uplifting release from its grip, our deep insight into our potential. Madoff's fall doesn't have to be ours. His ruin is the roadmap we've navigated together. As we close, reflect on this. Madoff's name is now a synonym for deceit, a cautionary tale etched in history. But ours, together, we can make it stand for resilience, for mastering the shadow. As a united front, I've reshaped my life through these steps, and I'm here with you to do the same. The emotional ache of hiding, the tension of facing it, the depth of rising above. It all converges here in our shared journey. Subscribe to stay connected on this adventure. Hit the like button if this spoke to your soul, and let's build a community of transformation in the comments. Your next step awaits. Start today, and by next week, we'll feel that golden light together. Until next time, we rise and thrive as one.